Today we're tackling one of history's absolute titans, Genghis Khan.
I mean, it's a question that's baffled people for centuries, right? How does this kid, an outcast, literally hunted on the brutal Mongolian steppe, end up building an empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean all the way to Central Europe? It's just incredible. To even start to get it, we've got to go way back to the very beginning.
Long before the world knew him as Genghis Khan, he was just a boy, a kid named Temujin. But yeah, from the second he was born, there were these signs, clues that his life was going to be something else entirely.
So the story goes, according to Mongol legend, that this was a huge deal, a powerful prophecy. The elders of the tribe took one look and said, yep, this one's destined to be a great conqueror. And wow, as we're about to see, history would prove them right in the most insane way you can imagine.
But don't think for a second his path was easy. It was anything but. Temujin's childhood wasn't just tough, it was a brutal trial by fire. Everything, his status, his safety, even his family, it was all just ripped away. He went from being a chief's son to a desperate fugitive, just scrambling for his next meal. And his whole world just imploded with terrifying speed. Think about this. At just 9 years old, his dad, a tribal chief, gets poisoned by a rival tribe. Then, his own tribe abandons him and his family, just leaves him to starve. By the time he's 15, he's a hunted fugitive, gets captured, and is enslaved with a wooden collar around his neck. This isn't just a tough childhood. This is a non-stop brutal fight for your life.
And this really paints a picture of just how desperate they were. Forget about any life of nobility. This was the most basic, raw, brutal existence you can imagine. As outcasts, they survived on anything and everything they could hunt, even wearing clothes made from the skins of rats and dogs. Just let that sink in.
Living like that, well, it strips away any kind of softness, any sentimentality. He grew up in a world where being weak meant you died, period. So he learned to be ruthless. The most famous story? In a fight over a single fish, Temujin killed his own half-brother. It was a clear, cold message to everyone. He would do whatever it took to survive, and eventually to leave.
But here's the thing. He didn't do it all alone. A really key relationship defined his early years, his bond with another young warrior named Jamuka. This friendship, man, it would first build him up, give him his power, and then it would threaten to tear down everything he'd ever made. So, their bond was sealed by this incredibly sacred Mongol oath called an anda. And this wasn't just, being best friends. They literally mixed their blood. They became sworn brothers, bound by a loyalty that was considered even stronger than family. For a while there, Temujin and Jamuka were completely inseparable. But deep down, at the very core of their friendship, was this massive clash of ideas. See, Temujin was a total revolutionary. In a world completely defined by who your family was, he promoted people based on pure talent and skill, merit. Jamuka, on the other hand, was a die-hard traditionalist. He believed only the high-born nobles had any right to rule. And that one single difference, that was the crack that was going to shatter their brotherhood.
And pretty soon, their rivalry exploded into open war. And it really shows you just how unbelievably cruel this era was. After one battle, Jamuka captured 70 rival chieftains and had them boiled alive in giant cauldrons. This act of pure terror was supposed to scare everyone into submission, but it totally backfired. It just grossed out a lot of warriors, who then ran over to join Temujin and his more, let's say, pragmatic approach. Now, this whole rivalry with Jamuka, that was just one piece of a much, much bigger and bloodier puzzle. Temujin had to play this deadly game of chess across a landscape of shifting alliances and constant betrayals, all to unite these warring Mongol tribes under one flag. And his path to the top was just methodical and absolutely ruthless. First, he gets his revenge, crushing the Tartars who poisoned his father. Next, he takes down Khan, this powerful guy who had helped him but then betrayed him. Then he uses clever psychological warfare to smash the powerful Naiman tribe. And finally, in the big showdown, he defeats and executes his own blood brother, Jamuka. When the dust settled, there were no rivals left. None.
So, with every single rival out of the picture, a great assembly, what they called a Kurultai, was called in 1206. And this was a huge deal. This is where all the tribes of Mongolia came together for one reason, to officially name one single supreme ruler.
And right there, at that Kurultai, Temujin, the outcast, the fugitive boy, was gone. In his place, a new man with a new title, a new identity, Genghis Khan. It means universal ruler. The transformation was finally complete.
Okay, so now he has all the Mongol tribes united behind him. So what's next? Well, Genghis Khan turns his gaze outward. The storm that had been brewing on the steppes for all those years, it was about to be unleashed on the rest of the world.
His first big test was against the mighty Jin dynasty in China, who were way more technologically advanced. See, his horsemen were masters of battle on the open plains, but they hit a wall, literally, when they faced these huge fortified cities. They had no idea what to do. So what does he do? Does he give up? No way. He learns. He adapts. He captures Chinese engineers and basically says, "You're going to teach my army how to build siege engines." And just like that, he turns his biggest weakness into a terrifying new strength.
Now, at first, he actually tried to do things peacefully with the powerful Khwarezmian Empire over in what's now Iran and Central Asia. He just wanted to trade. But the Sultan, oh man, he made a fatal mistake. One of his governors attacked and massacred a Mongol trade caravan. So Genghis Khan sends some diplomats to demand justice. The Sultan's response? He executes the lead diplomat and shaves the beards off the others to humiliate them. This wasn't just a mistake, it was a massive, calculated insult.
Genghis Khan's response was chilling and absolute. With that one declaration of war, the Mongol conquests went from being a regional thing to a full-blown global event. He wasn't looking for an apology anymore. He was unleashing total war on a scale the world had never, ever seen.
And what came next? Well, it was one of the single bloodiest periods in all of human history. The Mongol invasions weren't just about conquering land. No, they were cataclysmic events. They literally reshaped entire continents through pure, unadulterated violence.
And his vengeance could be terrifyingly personal. I mean, when his son-in-law was killed during the siege of a city called Nishapur, he ordered that every living thing in that city be killed. We're talking people, dogs, cats, everything. When his favorite grandson was killed at another city, Bamiyan, it was so completely annihilated that it became known as the City of Screams. For Genghis Khan, this wasn't just strategy. War was deeply, deeply personal.
And you take that personal vengeance and you scale it up to a level of destruction it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. The numbers are just staggering. We're talking an estimated 40 million people killed. That could have been 10% of the entire world's population back then. When you actually look at the numbers and put his conquests next to other huge historical conflicts, the scale of the devastation is just off the charts.
But his power wasn't totally absolute. There was one guy, the son of that defeated sultan, a man named Jalal al-Din. He actually escaped the slaughter and put together this fierce guerrilla resistance. He became this symbol of defiance, you know? He proved that even the great Khan could be challenged. And for years, he was a serious thorn in the side of the Mongol Empire.
In the end, of course, his massive empire fractured. And his tomb? To this day, nobody knows where it is. It's one of history's greatest mysteries. So it leaves us with this huge question, right? Who was he? Was he a visionary nation builder who bridged the gap between East and West? Or was he a genocidal monster whose true legacy is just written in blood? The complicated, messy truth is that he was probably both.